So I have my piece of paper here. Uh, John's. What we're going to do is we're going to split this paper up because the format of notes we're using is called Cornell notes. I don't know if you guys have ever used Cornell notes, but this is a way that pretty much is a format of notes, and it looks something like this. Now, if we were in class, like if everyone was here, I would have given you a blank one of these and we would have just filled it out. But since we're at home, we're just gonna take a take a piece of paper and split up our paper into these different sections, and we're gonna go through these together. So follow along. I'll try to go not too fast. That way you can follow me. So I'm working with notebook paper, so for me it might be a little bit easier because I have lines to guide me. If anyone's working like on computer paper that doesn't have any lines, then you might even try to fold it so maybe you can follow those creases when you draw your lines. So, and everyone can see this screen, can see my shared screen on the camera. Yes, we're good, thumbs up. All right, so a piece of paper, I'm gonna draw a couple of lines going, what is that, diagonal. So the first one is gonna go on the first line. Like I said, I'm just trying to make them as straight as I can. I know some of us aren't that good at drawing perfectly straight lines, so just try your best. The next one, I'm gonna go 2 lines down. I'm gonna draw a second line going across. Oh, there, sorry. Gotta keep looking up, make sure y'all can see that. All right, and then the last line, diagonal line, I'm gonna go to the very bottom. I'm gonna count maybe 3 lines up and draw a line going across there. So 3 lines. Top line, 2 lines down, then from the bottom, 3 lines up. And just if, in case you've never heard of Cornell notes, the first couple of times we take notes in class, we'll go through them together. And then usually the reason we like to use these is because they say that Cornell notes are scientifically proven to help you remember information better. The reason is because you're supposed to reread your notes a day later and convert that information into question form. So that's how come we like to use them. The other reason we like to use them is because they're easy, for me, I think, they're easier to read. And when we're usually in class, like at school, we'll have quizzes, small quizzes, and they're all in our tests. They're always open notes. So if you keep up with your notes, you'll be able to use those during your tests and quizzes. I'm still contemplating if we're gonna do any quizzes or things while we're virtual, but we'll see. All right, next line it's the pink tab line on the left. It's already there, so if you want to mark it, great. If you don't want to mark it, I mean, if you have notebook paper, you should already have a pink line there. But I like to draw it, so I'm gonna go ahead and draw that. And then the very last one we're gonna draw, up here at the heading, the very top of the paper, maybe half, a little bit more than half, we're just gonna draw a line going up. And that's the way we're gonna split up this paper. All right, so let's go over some of these sections. So the first section we have, very top, is where you put your topic. The second little section with the 2 little lines here is where we put an essential question. The big part of the paper is where your notes go. The little thin one on the left, questions. So the way the question section works if while we're taking notes, anyone has any questions, just jot them down, make yourself a quick note. And when we're done with the notes, I'll ask, anyone have any questions? That way you can remember, oh yeah, hey, can you explain this better? Or what did you mean by this? Or whatever question you have. Now, if you don't have any questions, the way we work this is, like I said, the day after we write the notes or the class period after, we'll come back and reread this. And we'll convert this information into question form. It's kind of like thinking to yourself, if I was my teacher, what are some questions I could ask over this on a test or a quiz? And like I said, that's one way that they say Cornell notes help you recall information better, by going over it and by converting it, thinking about it in another form. Oh, and then the bottom, you have a couple of lines to write a summary. Okay. So now that we have the paper set up, I'm gonna kind of zoom in so you can see a little bit better, and then we'll work, starting at the top, we'll work our way down. Boom, let me zoom in on this. All right, so like I said, follow along. I'll try to go not too fast. I said that we're all coming into this class at different levels. Some of us have taken art before. We're good at art. Some of us have never taken art, but we're here because we need the art credit. Listen, just try to follow along. And the good news about today's notes, if you know how to do stick letters, like hopefully all of us have been doing since like kindergarten, then you're good to go. So for today's topic, we're gonna call these notes lettering. The next little section we have here is where you put your name, and please don't copy my name, put your name. This is Art 1, second period. And today is August 17th. August 17th. Let me see if I can focus that better. I guess not. Okay. The essential question we have for today is, what are some ways to help my letters look consistent? What are some ways to help my letters look consistent? Oh my God, it looks blurry on my screen. Okay. All right. What are some ways to help my letters look consistent? So what we're talking about today, I guess the main idea is making bubble and block letters. That's like the main idea. Making bubble and block letters. So one of the things I like to say when, a lot of times whenever you're drawing something or you're creating artwork, like stick letters, they're not going to look good if you use them. So you have to use something that's a little bit bolder, like a bubble or a block letter, just a stick letter that's wider. So something that I like to think, how I like to process this is that if you know how to make a stick letter, you can make those thicker by thinking of those stick letters as bones. Just like a skeleton. So if I was to draw a little stick man here, or a couple of letters, I'm gonna go with an A. Go with the little B. The main thing you gotta remember is if those are sticks, the way we can make those into bubble or block letters is by putting a little bit of meat on the bones. So if you add meat to the bones. To make those letters, to make bubble. Okay, so one thing I do want to tell you is whenever you do use like stick letters to help you draw those letters, always do those in pencil, because when you're done, you're gonna want to erase those and just leave the nice block or bubble letter. So, you know, this is my stick man. I'm gonna make this guy thicker. So if this is a skeleton, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick like a distance from the body, and it's pretty much tracing around, trying to stay about the same distance from the bone all the way around. And if I can do that, then I can make this a nice, instead of a stick man, into a more formed man with more form to him. Now on some of these parts, I went around and it was round. So that's the concept of you doing a bubble letter. On this arm here, I went, instead of going round, I went like straight edges. So that would be the concept to make a block letter. So for example, if I was to take this A, and if I go a little bit around it, about that far away from the letter, make nice round edges, go all the way around, stay about the same distance away. And then when I'm done, I can get rid of that stick. Then I just made a nice bubble letter A. All right. Now, if I wanted to make more of a block letter, instead of making my edges round, and whenever I get to a point where I need to change direction, that I would make a nice sharp turn. And that would be more of a block letter. And this, you know, these two are probably just the start of what you can do with lettering. You know, if you could think of any other forms or any other ways to draw your letters, then you can follow those same things to give you like different styles. Like for example, I remember I used to draw whenever I was in junior high and in high school. I thought I was cool, and I used to like to draw like these cool letters. And if I had that as a skeleton, you know, this, I don't know if you can tell what that is, but that's a lowercase a. You know, I know it looks kind of weird. But if I can take this as my base, and then I can just use it as my starting point, as a guideline, then I can turn that into a nice bold letter. So these are just the beginning. From here, you can take this into all kinds of different styles. So, you know, I don't know, one of the things whenever we travel a lot, I always like to look at the trains. And one of the most popular things to do on trains is for people to graffiti letters on them. And you can see like the different styles. And all it is, I mean, if you really think about it, any letters you see is a variation of someone making these bubble and block letters. So that's the cool thing about it. All right, next thing. Another thing that could help you with your letters. I'm gonna go with black. Use guidelines. guidelines. Now you guys probably remember these from probably starting like in kindergarten when you first started learning how to write the alphabet. They gave you pieces of paper that had like a little road looking thing on it. And then when you were first beginning to write letters, the teacher would give you something that maybe looked like had a dot, then it had some dashes. And what you were supposed to do is you were supposed to follow those dashes to write your letters, right? But, you know, being all young and little, we didn't know what the heck we were doing with our little hands and our fat pencils, and we would try to follow it, drawing the letter, and we would go off the line. But eventually we got better at it. So what helped us, or I think helped us, was being able to use these guidelines and follow those to draw our letters way better. And now you should be able to stay in the lines because you know how to use your hands and your writing utensils better, right? Guidelines that helped us keep our lines or our letters between the lines look more consistent. The only thing I can tell you about these guidelines is that whenever you do make them, you need to make those light. Also with the stick letters, you know, because when you are done with the stick letters, when you are done with these guidelines, you're going to want to erase them. So remember to draw them light because you are going to want to erase them once you're done. Now, some examples of some guidelines. Maybe I can have, you know, and the cool thing now is that there's computer programs that let you do all this digitally. But what I'm talking about, you know, art, like the old school art where we hand draw all our stuff. So you could probably look at this stuff and say, you know what, I could probably do that on the computer right now. Real easy. And I bet you can. But I'm talking about, you know, hand drawing and some of the things that help you, you know, with consistency in your lettering. So, hey, I want to make a set of lines that's kind of wavy. So I'm going to draw a set of guidelines that's wavy. And if I can stay in between those lines when I'm drawing my letters, then they'll take that form of those guidelines. I'm out of room. But it is awesome, even though it didn't fit. Another thing you can do, like there used to be a logo. I don't know if anyone in here is a fight fan, but there used to be a logo a long time ago that was for UFC. And what theirs looked like, it looked like it was pinched in the middle. So it kind of looked like the U was in here, the F was in here, and then the C was right in here. So that's kind of what their logo looked like a long time ago. I'm talking about like when it first started. So they were able to use those guidelines, make nice bold letters, and it looked like it had that, you know, like that pinch effect on the letters. Smaller in the middle, stretching out at the edges. So those are just a couple of examples of how you could draw guidelines to shape your lettering. You know, just by drawing those, and you can follow those, and you know, and the possibilities are endless. Anything you can think of, you know, you can draw, and that'll help you with the letters looking more consistent and taking on different shapes. Okay, last thing I want to cover, and then I'll let you guys get to work. Talking about 3D letters. So 3D letters. And I'm going to write this down and then I'll explain it to you. It says, make all angle lines same direction and size. All right. So I'm gonna write this down, and then I'm gonna let you guys take a couple of minutes. I need you to draw a couple of letters so I can show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to draw. I'm actually gonna sit down so I can draw this. Okay, I'm gonna draw a letter. M. And I'm going to draw maybe a C. And once I'm done with my stick letters, we can erase them and just be left with our bubble and block letters. All right, I'll give you another minute. That way, I know some of us are still drawing. Draw you a couple of letters, then I'll show you what I mean by make the angle lines same direction and the same size. Nice. Well, while you were drawing, let me take attendance real quick. Oh, it's running slow. All right, let me cover this and then I'll take. Oh, there it is. Okay, we had. Oh, it's still not working. Okay. All right, so I have a couple of letters. If you think about what a 3D letter is, it's a letter that has a little bit of depth to it. You can kind of call it like a shadow. That's what it is. So one of the ways that I learned how to do this, and the best way I can try to teach it to you and describe it, is by angle lines. And an angle line is just something a little line that goes off of a corner, that goes off of an edge, and then just shows that thickness. So for example, on this letter M, the first thing I need to figure out is, okay, what direction do I want the shadow to go to? So, I've got a little shadow I want it to go up, down, to the side, or at an angle. So for this one, for me, I've always thought that the best shadows are not just straight up and down or to the sides, but somewhere at an angle, like up to the right, up to the left, down, right. So for this one, I'm going to give you the example of going to the top and to the left. So when I talk about angle lines is I'm going to kind of decide how thick I want the shadow to be, and then I can go from there. So just making my first line, I'm going to make it about that thick. So now that I got my first angle line, all I got to do now is match the rest of them to kind of be like the other ones, and then it should give you that consistent thickness. So there it is. Now that I made this first one, I'm gonna go and make the rest of them to try to match this. And I'm looking for edges, and for a block letter, it's easy because all you gotta do is look for these corners. Any sort of corner where it changes direction, that's where you're gonna do an angle line. So one there, one there, one there, one there. And I'm just gonna go around the whole letter. And I'm doing all of them. And those of you that know how to do this already, you're gonna be like, how come you're doing the ones on the inside? Well, I just kind of did this to prove a point. So now that I have these, you look on the inside of the letter, and any of these that are on the inside, you actually don't need those. So all of these you don't need. All you need is the ones that show on the outside. And what you do next is you just connect. If they're all the same size and the same angle, all you would do is you would connect edge to edge. And that would give you the 3D effect, edge to edge. Seeing like here, this one's on the inside, you could actually connect it there. This one goes from here to there, so it goes up. This one goes from here to there, so it goes that way. And that would be adding the 3-dimensionality to that letter. Now, the lines that are a little bit curvy and not like straight like this M, nice rigid, like straight edges, that's why I drew this C, are a little bit different. With this one, it's kind of hard to just get the edge. So for this, I kind of recommend to do angle lines at different spaces so you can attach those. So for example, this letter C, if I was to draw, I'm gonna work off of this curve because I think it's the best one to show, down to the right. So what I would do is, starting on an edge, pick the size, and then just work my way around. But if I work my way around this letter, it's kind of hard to see edges because it's a round form. So I'm just gonna, every so often, I'm gonna stop and make one of these angle lines. And like I said, if it's on the inside of the letter, you don't need it. So I'm not gonna draw them on the inside. So here, inside, nope, inside, nope. Oh look, there's one on the outside. And then I would just continue, and every so often, I would just draw one. Inside, inside, outside. And that's how I would kind of draw a letter C. And all I would do now is you're pretty much connecting these ends. So you're connecting these ends. And that's gonna give you the thickness of your letter, right? So that's what I mean when I say draw the angle lines the same direction, same size. So these are just little helper lines that help you kind of draw them, and then you connect them to draw, show the thickness or the shadow of the letter. So that's 3D letters. All right. Now, last thing, and this is bonus notes. Last thing, and I'm gonna draw this on the back because it's not even part of our lettering notes. I remember when I was young, I would always draw trucks, cars, right? But you know, I used to draw them something like this, like, yeah, that's my monster truck. That's how I used to draw trucks. Bang, the headlight. And I thought I was cool. And then someone showed me this and they're like, you know what? You can draw those a little bit better by showing some depth. So all you got to do is draw the outline. But if you angle it up a little, then like, let's say if I was to, instead of going straight across, just angle it up just a tad, something like that. And then on this line, on this plane, draw my truck frame. You know, it looks something like this. then I could draw myself a much better looking truck. So the next step is, once I have that frame drawn at an elevated angle, then I could throw, just like the letters, an angle line. And if I make them all the same size, same direction, then I can add three-dimensionality to the truck. So that's just a little side note that, I don't know, but I thought it was really cool when I learned how to do this. And it kind of showed me how to draw things a little bit more in 3D. And since it's at an angle, the wheels, instead of being circular, are more oval, and then you can match that angle line and show the thickness of the tires. Just a little side note, so you can draw, and you should be able to see some of that tire there. So you can draw other things in three-dimensional form also. So I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I said that we did this first lesson because I'm the type of teacher that likes first day get to work instead of doing notes and syllabus and all that. You know what? We'll learn that stuff a little bit. Each time we meet, we'll talk about, you know, expectations and things of that sort. But main thing you got to remember is, if you come to class, pay attention, follow along, and, you know, take the advice I give you on what I'm trying to teach you, you are going to get better with your artwork. So let me tell you what you're going to do with this information that you just learned. So at home for today, for the rest of your class period, I want you to make yourself a nameplate. Now, if we were at school, if you guys were all here, what I would have given you was a piece of like this poster board that's a little bit thicker, and we would have folded it in half. That way you can set it in front of your desk so I can start learning your names. But now I just have you guys right here in front of my screen. I'm kind of looking right now, and I can only see a couple of you at a time. So for me, what we're going to do is, you know, when we come into these Zoom meetings, like I'm trying to let people in that are in the waiting room and taking attendance at the same time. So you're going to take this nameplate and you're going to prop it up somewhere where I can see it. That way I can start putting your name to your face. So on these nameplates, I want you, and most of us are just going to have like regular, you know, notebook paper at home, right? So if we only have this type of paper at home, I would suggest maybe fold it in half, because there's two parts to this. The first part is I want you to draw your name, whatever you go by. So if it's different on the roster, like my name, my legal name is Roberto Moreno, but I go by Robert. So I would draw Robert on my thing. Just make these letters nice and bold. Use the information you learned about making block and bubble letters, and then put your name on the first section of your paper. On the second section, and like I said, if you have notebook paper, I recommend you folding this in half, maybe do one name, and then the second, the drawing. You know, and this is just so I can kind of see what level your artistic level is. Like I said, we're all coming in here at different levels. You know, try your best, and you have two options. The first option is to draw something on the second section of your paper of your choice. So this one here is a little building skyline that I drew with like a wall that has a basketball court. That's just something like my choice. So the first thing you can do is something drawing of your choice. The second one is you can draw something on the back or on the second section of your paper of things you like to do. So like on mine here, I drew a little golf green with the golf ball, you know, a putting surface. And then I drew a fishing boat, someone fishing right there. Those are the two things that I enjoy doing. So that's what I drew. So as far as our class, you know, our class goes on until 11:45. So until 11:45, you have time to work on this. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go ahead and take any questions and answer any questions that you might have. So does anyone have any questions? If you do, unmute yourself and I'll try to answer it. Any questions? We're good? All right. So from now to 11:45, I need you to please work on your nameplate. and I'm gonna post this stuff on Google Classroom in a minute. The second thing I need you to do, there is a first day questionnaire. There's just a couple of questions. One of the main questions being, do you go by something else than what's on the roster? What is something you would like to learn to draw this year? Because Art 1 is a little bit drawing heavy, so I like to take ideas from people. You know, if I get a lot of people that say they want to learn how to draw a certain thing, then we're going to learn how to draw that. So, and answer that questionnaire, and those are the two things you need to work on. All right, so I'm going to leave the camera up until our class time is over. If you think of something, you know, unmute yourself. I'm still listening to you guys, and you can ask me. Otherwise, what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to sit down here. I'm going to post these assignments for you guys. You guys have time to work on those right now. So nameplate and the questionnaire. And I will get those posted both on the Google Classroom here in a couple minutes. Does anyone have any questions on that? All right. Now, I know that some of us might not have certain supplies. Look, piece of paper, use whatever you have. You know, the way we're going to turn in things for art classes, once you're done with your work, we're going to try to take the best picture we can, and we're going to upload that picture into the Google Classroom. So, work these next minutes, and even if you don't get done, you know, we'll just put that aside. I think I put the due date for these assignments next time we meet. So just use the time right now you have to work. Like I said, I'm still on camera. I'm still listening. If any questions come up, y'all ask me, and I'll try to address those. All right. I'm glad you guys are here, man. I know it's kind of different with us being at home, but let's do what we can do. Yeah. All right. Give me a couple minutes. I'll load these up into the classroom. Okay.